when did you get comfortable talking about the sexual abuse or the suicide?
Yeah.
When did you actually start processing it yourself?
Yeah.
What are some of the lessons you learned from that, and what was the reaction about?
Well,
because I haven't heard you talk about this.
Yeah, I waited way longer than I should have. So this happened when I was 12 at a church camp. So I was an extroverted kid growing up on a farm and ranch, classic middle of nowhere. Even in the forward to my book, or not forward, but in the dedication to my book, I said to all the people who grew up in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, even that just gets me, because I'm so proud of the fact that I got to grow up where I did. And now I live in this 9 million person city in New York City, and I get to pinch myself every day that I made it there, which is this place I wanted to get to.
I know that place though, because I had a grandpa with a farm in Colorado that literally the next house was 2 miles down the road.
Yeah.
And I had a grandpa with a ranch in Arizona, so I know the types of people you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's really solid.
Salt of the earth, right?
Yeah,
that's the words
what
we say.
It is, yeah.
And so, super extroverted kid, wanted to just get to the city anytime I could. And so when summer came around, I wanted to go to any church camp or camp I possibly could. So one weekend I was Catholic, the next I was evangelical, the next I was Baptist. It didn't matter to me. I was going to morph into it. So I was a good shapeshifter that way. So I was at this camp, and I kind of got singled out by these two men, and then over the course of a couple of days was sexually abused and assaulted. Wow. First day was bad enough. Second day was very bad. Wow. And not very nice. And I just remember through the experience just wishing that my dad would come through the door and help kind of save me. And so anyway, went home. And then that was my first attempt for suicide, was when I got out of the back of this Chrysler LeSabre or Buick LeSabre car, dropped my little duffel bag off at the front door as my mom came out to say thanks to the people who were dropping me off, friends. And I went into the backyard where we had a pool that we just put in on the farm, and I got changed into my bathing suit and then jumped into the pool and tried to pin myself underneath the ladder of the pool and drown myself, because I did not want any of my family to know. I just thought everyone was looking at me and they knew, and they didn't know. Because again, your entire world changes because it was so foreign to me, all that stuff. I grew up in an amazingly safe and loving home. And, and then just some of the things that were said to you during the experience of, where's your family now? They're not here to save you. How could they love you if they don't? If they're not here, all these things. Now all of a sudden, now you've got self-worth issues for a lot of your life, kind of thing. And so I never told anybody about that until September of 2017. September the 8th, actually, is 2017. Finally broke down and told a friend. I was just fried. I was stressed about so many things that were going on. I was in a business lawsuit that was very expensive and was, trying to hurt my brand behind the scenes with a former business partner and stuff that no one knew about because I was the face of things. But, it was hurting the business a lot. And, you still got to suck it up and just deal with it. But all this stuff is coming at you thinking that you're the problem, but it was stuff that was out of my control. But we couldn't talk about it publicly. So that, and just a bunch of things that came together, and it just brought this thing back upstairs because I was feeling trapped.
Okay.
And which was the feeling that I had specifically in that moment. Okay. And prior to me actually saying something to my friend, which then I went home immediately and told my wife, about 7 months before that, we had just had our little boy, Charlie, who's 2.5, a little bit more than 2.5 now. It was the end of February 2017. We had Charlie, and it was a very bad birth experience. We had to have emergency C-section, all this kind of stuff. My wife had a very traumatic experience for my wife because she lost so much blood. And so she came home, and she's being taken care of. I have a big event that's coming up in a month and a half that I'm trying to get ready for as well. So managing the team and all the quantity of work that's there, and I'm also taking care of Molly and Sophie as well. And we've got a little bit of help, but so I'm picking up Molly and Sophie from preschool. And Molly, my oldest, is just a really sweet and kind kid. That's just her default mode of operation. And I put her in. It was just before her 4th birthday, and she put her hand up to my face and she said, "Daddy, are you happy?" And I said, yeah, I'm happy. Why? She said, oh, because you've been yelling at us a lot lately and it's making us sad. And I was in the middle of Chelsea Piers, which you know Chelsea Piers.
Yeah.
Biggest sports complex in all of Manhattan. People rushing by, taking kids to gymnastics and soccer fields and basketball and ice hockey and stuff. And I'm just like, waterfall.
Yeah.
Because in that moment, I thought, I am not going to give my kids secondhand trauma. Because that's what I was doing. I was transmuting all this stuff that was so painful inside and getting angry because I was getting triggered. Because that's what triggered actually means. Triggered isn't like, oh, that person just triggered me. People use that word very loosely and, whatever, you can't police the world. But triggered is actually, an old psychological memory being triggered that is going to flood you with a lot of hormones that are tough to manage, cortisol, stress hormones typically, or adrenaline. And and I was like, I'm going to change this. Still took me 7 months though, because then now it came up to the surface and I started trying to deal with it on my own again, even making my own mistakes. So even though I say this to people, again, we're difficult with ourselves.
Yeah.
So
and had you blocked all this stuff out, or
no,
you knew it?
Yeah, I blocked it out really well. There's lots of things that I even forgot about it until I actually started to get treatment for it and things. But it would bubble up, and that's and it would come to the surface anytime I felt like I was being isolated by a group. I had a couple of bad breakups when I was younger. That triggered it, which then, caused a suicide attempt and stuff because you felt, alone and unworthy. And beyond the unworthy thing, then you're carrying with you that whole experience again. Like you're just back to it. Yeah. So it triggers that 12-year-old self. And sometimes, again, it's so crazy, but your 12-year-old is doing that now. Like that wounded self, it's locked inside of you. That's what people don't get about trauma is trauma also, the part of it is it's very somatic. There is trauma that sits in the body. It can be like if you hold a lot of tension somewhere, that could be where the trauma is trapped or sitting. Like it's, the body is a phenomenal thing.
Yeah.